Hello, everyone. This is going to be a quick video on how to organize your Google Drive. I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on some really great ways to organize your Google Drive, as well as how to declutter and to make sure that you aren't going to lose any of your stuff. So, we're going to start off. This is sort of a three-step process. And the first step process that I'd like you to do after opening your Google Drive, which you should obviously do first, is we're going to declutter. So, declutter just means to get rid of things that we don't need. So, that's going to look a little bit different for everybody. Notice that this is my Google Drive, and I already have a lot of this stuff in folders. So, if you have a bunch of folders, it's going to take you a little while. You need to open up every folder, see if you still need the stuff in there. Okay, now we don't always need the things that we have, but you might want to save them in case you want to maybe come back to them. And in that case, what I would recommend doing is to create like an old stuff folder. So the way I did that is to create maybe folders by the year. So I can show you that in the volleyball drive here. So let me open that up. So I've coached multiple volleyball teams here at Abington, and I like to keep the stuff from old years just in case I want to look back and remember old rosters, or maybe I did an activity that I really liked. So I've been organizing them by year. So 2019-20, that was last year's volleyball team. I did coach the boys volleyball team at the senior high in the spring, so I made a whole folder for that stuff. So even though that's old, I might be able to use that stuff next season, so I just kind of dump it all in that folder. Okay. So back to the big drive. The other part of decluttering is just going to be deleting documents you no longer need anymore. So I have a couple documents that I do need to get rid of. So we'll show you how to do that. I have this breakout rooms document that a lot of you probably used. We don't need that anymore because we do have Google Meets. So I'm like, don't need this document anymore. So what you can do is right click it, or if you're using a mouse pad, you can click with 2 fingers. And that's going to bring up this menu. So I can actually hit the remove button, and it's going to go away. It goes into this trash file. So if you do delete something by accident, you can bring it back out of the trash. That's totally fine. Let's continue down here. We'll maybe do this one more time. Let's look. All right, so here's one thing I don't really need anymore. Oh, where did it go? There we go. So I don't really need this summer flex checklist anymore. This was from some activities I did over the summer. I don't really need this. This isn't something I'm going to really have to come back to. I just needed it in the moment. So my options here are either maybe archive it in case maybe I want to come back to it. But at this point, I'm pretty positive I don't have to come back to this. So I'm again going to click with 2 fingers, and I'm going to hit remove. Okay, so those things are now gone. This video conferencing permission form, right? I don't need that anymore. I can get rid of it, hit remove. Okay, so there are going to be some things in your drive that are probably in the wrong spot. So what you can do first, or what I'd recommend doing first, is kind of getting an idea of what you're going to need. And this is going to be a process, right? There's probably a bunch of different stuff floating around on your drive, but a really good way to organize things is either by the year or by course. So for me, this is going to be kind of general, right? So I have a couple different courses that I teach, so I organize things in those folders. But you don't take the same classes year after year. So what I would recommend that you do is to create a new folder for each year of school that you have on your Google Drive. So maybe you have some stuff from last year, right? You can create a folder called 2019-2020. Okay, so that's last year's stuff. So you can create that folder. And that folder will appear up here at the top. These do appear in alphabetical order. Another quick trick or tip is that you can have things viewable in list view. So that'll make things a little bit maybe cleaner if you like them this way. You can view the documents down here. You can see the owner of the document and the date. I like having this grid view. I think it looks a little bit more like folders, a little bit more organized. This is my preference, but you can do anything you'd like. So some of these documents I do have to put into these folders, but what I'd like you to do right now is kind of pause the video, go ahead and try that declutter process, and as well as trying to kind of organize some folders. So as you look through the stuff that you have, you can start to decide what sort of folders you're going to need, right? Do I need a 2019-2020 folder? Do I need a 2018-2019 folder, right, for your previous year of school? And then maybe making one for this year, or just having the stuff for this year kind of out in the open, and then when you're done with it, you can dump it then into a folder. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video. and go ahead and try the decluttering as well as creating some folders for some things you might need. All right, so you should have paused the video and done the decluttering process. If you are now back, we're gonna start the process of organizing into these new folders that you have created. So what I would like to do is move some of these documents that are kind of just floating around in my drive into the folders that they belong in. So this calendar down here, I have a folder for organization and how-to videos. I would like to put my calendar in there just so that I can keep updating it year to year. And this really is about organization. So I'd like to put that in there. Okay, so what I can do is I can click on this and highlight it and then start to drag it around. Okay, so when I drag this up to organization, I will then let go and it will tell me that I moved that file into organization. If you did that by accident, you can hit this undo button and it'll bring it right back. Okay. So again, I'm going to put this back in here. But what you can do if you want to move multiple documents into that one folder, you can click on multiples. So you can actually highlight this and then you can hit control, the control button, and you're going to hold down the control button and click again and see how both of these documents are highlighted blue. I can now drag those, click both of them, see how it says 2 up there and that little red button. I can drag 2 documents over into my organization folder because that's another calendar. So that kind of makes sense there. All right, so a couple other things I can probably move. Let's look down here. I have a couple of these current events papers sort of floating around. And I do current events within my civics and government classes. So this year I'm teaching honors civics and government. So let's make a folder for those current events papers. Okay, so we're going to create a new folder. I'm going to hit new and folder. And I'm going to go ahead and call it current events. Sorry, I'm typing with one hand right now. So I'm going to hit create. And you can see the current events folder pops up right there. So I like to color code my folders. They make a little bit more sense to me and it's kind of easier to visually see them. So let's say I want to make my current events folder a different color. What you can do is, let me show you how to do it. You can double click or right click it and it's going to come up with this menu and you can hit the button that says change color. It comes up with all these pretty colors. I kind of like this blue velvet color. So I'm going to pick that. Right? And I actually don't really like these kind of look very similar to me, right? The purples and the blues. So maybe I want to change it again. You can go back and change it again. Let's say I want it to be this color orange. Right now it stands out nicely to me so I can find it. All right, so I'm going to go back to my drive. Another way that you can move things is you can move them within each individual document. So I can double click this document and hit the move to button. Okay, so instead of dragging and dragging and dragging into multiple folders, this is a little bit easier. So you can move it. And I know that I'm going to move this into my Civics and Gov Honors folder. And then I'm going to look down for my current events folder. Okay, so I'm going to click into that. And right now it's empty, but you can hit move here and move again. And there it goes. Okay, so we can do the same kind of thing with the other current events paper. So I can click, I can control click. I think I have another one. I can control click. I think that might be it. Okay, so that's pretty much everything I want to move there. So I can do the same thing with multiple documents. So you can double click. Oops, I unclicked it. Sorry, everyone. Technical difficulties. Let's try that again. And we can double click it and hit move to Civ and Gov Honors, current events, and I can move all 3 of those documents at once. And they're gone. Super nice. So the remaining things on my homepage are kind of things that I use for all of my classes and things that I use kind of frequently. So I'm going to keep these here. Actually, this one can probably go. So let's do one more example just for the heck of it. So one more way that we can continue to move things, if you'd like to, you can open up the document and move it within the document. So let's say I wasn't sure what this was. I wanted to kind of look at it first. I'm like, oh, I know where that goes. You can go to File. You can hit Move. Where'd it go? There we go. Move is going to have this little arrow next to it. It's usually under Rename in this kind of little section here. Move. And I can move it here. Okay. You can also hit this little button up here if it's there for you. Civ and Gov Honors. This is where this generally kind of belongs. And this is usually something I do as like a beginning of the year activity. So I have a unit 0 start of year, and I'm going to hit move here because that's where I want it. All right, so the document is still open, but it has been moved. If I X out and I kind of refresh my page here, I will notice that it has disappeared from my home page. Okay, so my home page is now a little bit more just filled with things I sort of regularly use. They're for the beginning of the year. So this is kind of how I want my homepage. You can leave your homepage where however you want, this kind of free floating part in your drive. You can use it however you want. Some people like it completely empty. You don't have to leave things here. If everything fits nicely into a folder, that could be great. You make another folder called like frequently used documents. I could put all of my stuff in that folder, but I kind of like having it floating here, and that's totally fine. So I'm going to start kind of decluttering all of my stuff. Hopefully you've done that, and you can start by moving all of your stuff into your folders here. Now at the end, I do want you to take a picture and show me your very nicely organized drive. Please go to the next video. I'm going to show you how to do that.